Welcome back to Gems Podcast. I am the founder and host, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp, and my special guest with me today is Liz Wilcox. Here's a bit about Liz. She is the fresh princess of email marketing. Liz is an email strategist and keynote speaker showing small businesses how to build online relationships, package up their magic, and turn it into emails that people want to read and, most importantly, purchase from. So, without further ado, please welcome the email marketing queen or fresh princess, Liz Wilcox, to Gems Podcast.
Hey, I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait to dig into email for people today.
Thank you so much, Liz. But before we dive into email marketing and your subject matter expertise, we definitely are going to get to know you a little bit better so the audience and myself could connect further. So I'm going to give you two options. We could play a rapid fire game or we could break the ice. Which would you like?
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Let's do rapid fire. This is a challenge because I'm a wordy lady, but I'm ready. It's early in the morning at the time of this recording. Let's go. I got my water. Let's go.
Amazing. So question one, if you could have lunch or dinner with any person, living or dead, who would it be?
I would have probably a dinner date with Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, because I just want to know how he has been able to not only sustain his brand but build it over the last 35 years, while just staying so very much the same but somehow still relevant, over the course of, almost 4 decades. It's incredible to me. Also, I'd like to pitch him to work with him on his email because his email sucks. So that's my answer on that one.
Amazing. And I had no idea what his real name was, so I learned something new. So Marshall Mathers?
Marshall Mathers is his real name, and that's why he's called Eminem, like M and M. Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, that white rapper guy that just won't go away.
He was just on the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes, this is supposed to be rapid fire, so okay. I won't go into that, but yes.
Number two, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
It would be the power to heal.
Okay. Number three, dream car.
I have my dream car. I just bought it about a month ago from this recording. It is a 1989 Ford Bronco Eddie Bauer edition, 4 on the floor. That means 4-wheel drive with the complete tow package. I don't know why it's my dream car, but it just, there's just something about it that I thought, wow, that would be just so fun to drive. And I saw it on the side of the road about 6 weeks ago. And after a few weeks of it just sitting there mint condition, I said, you know what, I'm going to call. And I bought it. And it's just a testament to, it's like, I literally say, like, this is the car that email built. So I'm so, like, I love email so much, and it really helped me get my dream car. So great question.
Amazing. So 4, if you could go back into time and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Start earlier. Start this online thing earlier. I went and I have a master's degree in leadership, which is great, and I definitely use it today. But I remember in my master's degree, in the interim between my bachelor's and my master's, I was just sitting around, like, literally watching MTV. What was I doing? I should have been starting a blog. I wish that would be the advice, to start an online business sooner, to start building a following.
5, are you a coffee or tea drinker, or neither?
Neither. I drink Mountain Dew. I'm like a 12-year-old motocross superstar. I don't know what it is about that green nectar from the gods, but I wish I drank coffee or tea like a regular adult, but I'm still on that Mountain Dew thing.
6, if you could go anywhere in the world, money was no option, but here's the kicker. You may not be able to fly back home because they're no longer taking flights back to your original destination.
Oh, snap. This is a really good one. Like, okay, so I live in my dream town, and I have to move in 3 days from the time of this recording. So maybe I would fly back here, but then I think I would probably, this is so silly, but I would probably fly to Detroit, Michigan. That's where I was born and where like my lineage is from. And I just feel like there's a real market there. So if I was stuck there, I would have to buy real estate. And then I would imagine, in the next 50 years, I probably make a lot of money from that. They're rebuilding Detroit. I know Detroit gets a really bad rap, but they're rebuilding it. Dang it.
7, favorite color.
My favorite color is purple.
Okay. 8, favorite food.
My favorite food is tomatoes, and I have become in the last 2 years highly allergic to them, and I can no longer eat them.
Oh.
So sad. Next question, please.
9, if you were a fly on the wall and you could eavesdrop on any conversation, which conversation would you be eavesdropping on?
Okay, so this is really relevant right now. So Genesis and I are recording this at like the day after Elon Musk bought Twitter. And so I would just like to be a fly on the wall, be like in that meeting. First of all, like how Elon Musk pitched it, what that business was like. Yeah, okay, we'll sell this. And, not only to learn the business strategies behind, giant deals like that, but also just curiosity, like what the heck is going on in either party's head, right? That'd be really fun.
Amazing. And he bought it for a whopping 44 mil.
Billion.
Wait, was it billion? I thought it was million.
$1 billion.
Oh.
In it. $44 billion. I think he offered 50 or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, 44. I literally just typed in the word 44 billion, and it's Elon Musk is everywhere. So yeah, $1 billion.
Oh, okay. I thought it was million because I was like, wow.
No. Yeah, now you're like, whoa. Yeah, crazy. Absolutely. I would love to hear that conversation.
So question numero 10. So this is the pass or play question. If you play, I ask you one last question. If you pass, you can ask me one question.
Okay, this is so fun.
What are you doing? Are you passing or playing?
I'm gonna play.
Okay. No, I got to give you a hard one. Okay. Here's a scenario.
Okay.
You are on a remote island. There is a shop there, but your funds are limited and you only have 3 options of things you could buy. You could buy a CD, you could buy a book, or you could buy 5 pieces of fruit. What are you buying? So a CD, a book, or 5 pieces of fruit.
Well, dang, that's hard. My first instinct is the CD because I like music. If you can't see me right now, like I've got NSYNC posters in the background. Like Genesis said, call myself the Fresh Princess. Like I clearly have a lot of like musical influence I want to meet Eminem, have a lot of musical background, but I feel like I need to buy the fruit because the fruit has seeds and I can I can plant the seeds and grow, because I don't know, maybe it's back to that question about there's no returning flights. Maybe I'm on this island for a while, so I need to eat.
Okay, good answer. She's picking nutrition, and substance, y'all. So thank you, Liz, for playing rapid fire with Genesis. Now we are segueing into email marketing and what makes this your jam and your subject matter expertise. So let's lay the foundation. Let's start to debunk some of the myths around email marketing. What are some of the crappy emails that you have gotten that you're like, delete?
Okay, I love that. I love the way you frame this question. Yeah, so a lot of email marketers will tell you, get on a podcast like this and talk about telling stories. And you know what? Stories, they're right. They do connect. I'm sure I'll tell a story in here, the way that Genesis and I played that rapid fire. I told little micro stories there. And so, yeah, stories connect. But at the end of the day, when you're writing an email, you need to be thinking about it as a newsletter, not a novel. And if you don't have time to be writing these stories every single week, chances are your audience does not have time to read them every single week, right? And so the ones that I see that it's like, delete is when the person just tells story after story after story. There's no variation. I always say in email marketing and any type of branding, you want to be really familiar. Like people want, oh, I know Liz, she's the Fresh Princess. She's, always spouting off about something Eminem is doing or whatever, right? But I don't want to be predictable, right? I'm familiar, but not predictable, right? Not that I'm flying off the rails talking about this or that, but when you open my emails, like, Liz Wilcox, you know what you're going to get, but you don't really know what you're going to get, right? Oh, I wonder what she has to say. So with email, if you're just telling story after story or the same thing over and over and over again, the same type of format in your emails, you're going to become like, oh, I know Genesis. I don't want to open that because I know it's going to be the same old thing, right? It's like if you got a package in the mail every single week with the same thing, at first it would be exciting. Oh, I wonder what's in that. By the third time, oh, I know what's in that. It's going to stay in the corner. Suddenly it's collected dust. You're never going to open it, right? It's the same with that. So that's the biggest mistake I see is just telling too many stories or, having the same type of formatting every single week.
Absolutely, because then it becomes like redundant and that predictability is there. You're like, oh, I kind of already know she's going to pitch me about this, or he's going to send me this information, or it's going to be that, annoying crypto sale or NFT, or, just the stalking thing where they're like constantly spamming you, but they're not connecting. So like one of the things that I like to see is like I like to have a story up front where it resonates with me in some type of way. I like to have a question where they could respond back or answer that question, and then a closer with the action item. I'm definitely not an email marketing person, so it's definitely a lot of trial by error. But that was one of the things that I did when I was working in corporate America for 15 years, and my background's oil and gas and energy. So there's always something there. You need to get to it, and you don't want like whenever someone gets your email, everything to be wordy. You want to have enough space in between the lines so it's easy to read and digest. So that's one myth that will make people hit that delete button. Okay, what's another myth, Liz, that you've seen that just kind of irks your nerves? And whenever I say irks, it's like someone is taking their fingers and like clawing on a chalkboard. Those old school black chalkboards, for those of y'all who aren't familiar.
My teeth are starting to hurt when you just talked about it, that sound. Yeah. So something else that I see in the market is just thinking that you shouldn't do email or, putting it off because you don't have a quote unquote funnel yet. You don't have this product. You think it's going to take you, months to come up with it, months to come up with the emails, this perfect little segue from your freebie into your offer. And I say like, no, that's really complicated. That is a very advanced strategy. So if you're sitting around just, waiting for inspiration to strike you so that you can actually email your people or, set up that funnel, I say, let's get started right now. All you really need, instead of some kind of sales funnel, right, where, oh, get my freebie. And now I've got this 10 email sequence where, with expiring bonuses and deadline funnel and all this other stuff that takes you forever to set up. Like, let's remove the steps. Let's get them on our email list with some sort of freebie or whatever incentive, however people are getting on your list. And instead of this long sales funnel that dang well you're not going to write because you ain't written it yet, just set expectations. Just have one email in the welcome sequence that says, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what it means to be on my email list. And within that one email, and I'll give you an example of this at the end. It's in my freebie personally. Just say, I'm going to offer you free and paid products, free and paid services, free and paid resources. This is the ding, ding, ding moment. If you're washing dishes right now, if you're driving, something like that, like, don't forget this one moment. I'm going to offer you free and paid products. And then you can even sub-bullet that with, if you've got products already, like my tried and true 20-minute newsletters, like my $9 membership, whatever, like my group coaching, right? And so just right up front, you're flipping the switch from, hey, I just got this free thing from Genesis, right? To, oh, she's a business. Here's her offerings, right? So the next time you bring it up, it's not as shocking. It's not this big, long sales funnel. I think I have an email. I have a $9 membership and I sell it at the end of my welcome sequence. And I just say, this is the only email you're going to get about it. Aren't you glad I didn't just funnel you into this like 2-week thing that's trying to get you to buy something with FOMO? People are really burnt out by that. I find, maybe that worked a couple of years ago and maybe it'll work right now if you're really dialed into your customer and your offer. But for the most part, it's not actually necessary. You can just tell them, hey, I got this thing right from the beginning. And then like Genesis said, every single time you send out an email, you get a call to action. Maybe this week, oh, don't forget about this. Don't forget about my membership. Don't forget about my group program, and just continuously putting offers out there is a way easier, simpler, and usually more effective way to do things.
Absolutely. And I think because whenever you're doing it that way, you're building that know, like, and trust factor, but then you're also being upfront with them so they feel like you're being transparent versus being shady in that email that they're receiving from you. Now, so those are 2 myths. Let's share one more myth and then we're gonna jump into the correct way of setting up your email marketing pipeline. That way you are actually getting your message across, people are reading your message, and then they're closing in with you. They're beginning to work with you, whether you're a coach, whether you're a business, or whatever the case may be.
Sure. So I think one more thing I'd like to share, and you'll have to forgive me. They're doing lawn maintenance. So if you hear that, I apologize. But the last myth I want to share with you is when you do write sales emails, I don't want you to think that you have to have this big, long series of emails and you have to make sure, you cover every single objection ever, right? What I want you to do instead is just be very direct with your customers. Say, hey, this is why I created the product. This is who I think is the right person. And not saying things like, oh, well, this isn't for you if you're not ready to commit. Like we've been in a pandemic for 2+ years. Everybody and their mother's been living on the internet for a very long, 700, 800 days counting now. And so, we can kind of see through that BS nowadays. But just being very explicit, very direct about who you really want in your programs, why you built something the way that it is. And even maybe possibly doing that before you even send the sales emails, doing a pre-launch and spending more time on the pre-launch of, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is how I'm creating it, or this is how I created it and why I'm launching it this day. And this is what I hope for people coming into the program. And answering those objections before you even open the cart is going to help you out tremendously. I know I did this with my first digital course. It was actually something like my 10th digital product, but I finally created the big old course. And I really focused, instead of having these crazy sales emails and this process and, Facebook ads, I didn't do any of that. I just wrote a very simple sales sequence. But before, I spent a lot of time prepping my audience, telling them what was coming, telling them how I was creating things, asking questions with them like, hey, I've got module X and Y. What do you think is missing? What is Z, right? Hey, I'm thinking of charging this price. How does that feel? And really overcoming all those objections. Before, I had 141 people on my wait list and I made 141 sales. And it was because I did that pre-launch. And if you don't know, average conversion rates are about 1 to maybe 5%, maybe 10% if you're doing something like a live event. Mine was 100%. And I don't say that to, brush off your shoulder type of way, but just, yeah, exactly. Hashtag Jay-Z. I told you I love music. I just say that because, I find so many people spend so much time on the sales email and those processes once the cart has opened, that you forget about the pre-launch, you forget about prepping your audience. Speaking of Jay-Z, Beyonce did a deal with Adidas, I think it was almost 2 years ago. And before they even sold any, like the second, they did so much prep. They talked about it. They created content around the design. They created content showing off, the sweatsuit and the shoes and the hats with other celebrities and all this prep before you could even buy it. And so when they turned the sales cart on, it was sold out within minutes, right? It's all about, how do you get your person's finger on that mouse to click that buy button, before it's even available. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Because you're like giving them the teaser, like, this is what's coming down the pipeline. This is what you have to look for. And if you start to see things over and over, it's kind of like that neuroscience. It's already being programmed in you that you're like, oh, I got to have more. I got to have more. When is it going to drop? When is it going to drop? Kind of like whenever artists like kind of preview their music and their music is getting ready to come out, like back in the day when CDs were about to drop, people would be lining up for CDs, or those who are gamers, like they always advertise when the new PlayStation is coming out or whatever the case may be, and people will line up outside of these stores to get that because they've already been conditioned and it's been ingrained in them that this new great thing is getting ready to come out and they want it. They want to be the first person to get it so they could talk about it with their friends and all of that. So that's also a good thing that you just mentioned, Liz. Now let's switch into how should somebody write an effective email to just really get their brand out there, um, build that know, like, and trust factor, but then also at the end of it, get somebody to seal the deal and say, okay, I want to work with you.
Sure. So I teach people something called the email staircase. First, you've got a follower, right? Somebody finds you on social media, you hear them on a podcast, whatever, right? And you get them on your email list, and then you can turn them into a friend. And now I'm not talking about, a friend that you share all your dirty laundry with, they know all your dirt, your skeletons, but someone that you have a mutual interest with. So, I've talked a lot about pop culture. So maybe it's like, oh yeah, you want to hear the latest gossip, give me your email, I'll share with you, da, 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 da. Right? That same mutual interest, whatever it is your thing, whether you're, an author, an SEO agency, whatever, right? You want to bring people in that are interested in that as much as you are. And so you bring them into the list, you turn them into a friend. And then because you have a list of friends, you can turn them into customers very quickly. You can basically just say like, hey, I've been talking with you. I know we know each other. Like, I created this course just for you. Like, do you want it? Is now the time for you to buy, right? And so in order to be a friend, and I promise I'm getting to her question, in order to be a friend, you just need 3 things. You need to show your people 3 things in your emails and in your marketing. Number one, you have to invest your time. You have to invest in them. It's way simpler when someone already believes you're invested in them for them to invest back into you, right? Email marketing shouldn't be this blast, where you're just like, hey, here's my thing, check it out. It should be a two-way street where you're talking to them, they're talking to you. And in order to do that, if it's very obvious you invest your time in them, then they will invest back into you via, getting clicks, getting replies, getting sales. Then number two, you have to share in a relatable way. My very first business was an RV travel site. The majority of my customers were men in their 60s. Do you think I was making, jokes about Eminem or Justin Timberlake? No, that was not relatable to men in their 60s. I was talking more about campfires and my travels. And, if I wanted to talk about music, maybe, Aerosmith or the Grateful Dead, right? That was relatable. Think about what's relatable for your specific person and then share that. Number three is just stay top of mind. A weekly newsletter, if that seems like, oh my gosh, once a week, I don't have time. Just, give it the old college try and try 2 times a month. You've got to stay top of mind to stay relevant, right? We don't want to be lost in the inbox. So try twice a month, build up that muscle until you can get to weekly. So as far as the email content goes, just always be keeping those 3 things in mind. How can I show that I'm invested in them, right? Maybe it's, I've got this podcast where I'm interviewing people and, oh my gosh, I just learned so much about email. Here's what I learned, right? Bringing back what you learned. Even just being explicit and saying things like, I care about this email list and I'm committed to it. I think I just wrote my email list newsletter right before this episode. And I think the open line was something like, well, it's Tuesday, so I'm sitting here writing to you because that's what I do on Tuesdays. Just even being, again, explicit or direct about, the things that you're doing in your business, even when you're B2C. I would say, especially when you're B2C and it's not obvious to these people that you are an actual business, talking about your business shows that you're invested. Again, sharing in a relatable way. And I would say, instead of telling stories, like I mentioned at the top of the hour, sharing personal updates instead. And this is just 2 to 3 sentences where you talk about something that you've done since the last time you emailed. So it's, I did this rapid fire. This lady has some crazy answers. I can't wait for you to check it out. It was really funny, right? And then just segue into the content. So this is, by segue, I mean, just take your little keyboard, hit that caps lock, type the word anyway, ... What I really want to talk about is, my new offer, or, this new Instagram I saw, or, this article I found that I think you'd be interested in, my new podcast, whatever content you want to put out that week, right? Whether it's outbound or you've just got something to say, you've got a new tip or a new, time or money hack, whatever, right? And then you can just get out of there. So again, coming through, in summary, coming through that lens of, I want to show that I'm invested, I can share in a relatable way, I'm going to stay top of mind, and, giving a personal update, segueing into the content, some sort of call to action at the end, if and when it's appropriate, and then just getting out of there is going to make email so much simpler. Here's your little sound bite. If it takes longer than 20 minutes, you're doing it wrong.
Amazing. Those are some 3 golden tips, Liz. So thank you for sharing that. And what do you think about people using videos? Because sometimes people will send videos within their email marketing of something that they want to tell you versus kind of typing it out. Like, what are the conversion rates there?
Yeah, I love video. I would say, again, back to what we were talking about earlier about being familiar but not predictable, varying that content. So unless you have a very specific software, I've only seen one software where you can actually embed video into email. Usually you have to create some sort of GIF or graphic and you click out to the video. So just to be clear on that, there is one specific software. I don't even know how much it costs because you have to get on the phone with them. And it's usually used by giant companies, like Porsche or Ford or something like that. But anyway, most of the time, what I do is I create a GIF that says something like click to watch. It's me waving or pointing to the click to watch. And then I, post like a Loom video, or maybe I made like a little clip on Zoom. Those work really, really well. But I would say this, as far as the video content goes, some people, depending on your audience, some people might not click on the video. If you are working with people that have jobs and they're probably checking their email when they're supposed to be working, they might not click on that video. So what I would do, and what I normally do, is say, here's a video I made. And then I say something like, if you can't click on that right now, here's the cliff notes. And I'll type out just a few bullet points about what I said in the video. If I really want people to click, I'll also say, I hope you save this for later, at least click on it and have it in your tabs for when you can actually watch it. I want you to watch it for this reason. But those work really, really well. Again, make sure you're varying, not every single email will have a video in it, because then that trains people like, oh, I don't have time for that right now, I'm not going to open it. But when it can be a pleasant surprise, it really is a pleasant surprise. In fact, the second email, if you sign up for my email list, the second email you get from me is a subject line, I made you a video, and it's a video introducing myself so you can see my face. That's going to build that know, like, trust factor so much faster. And then I give you, I think, some sort of email tip. So I really, really recommend video. I love it so much. And again, I invite you to just be brave and try it out. I love that question.
Amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that, Liz. You've dropped some really incredible gems here today. And as we wind down, we're now in our call to action segment. So I want you to leave your call to action for our audience. What challenge do you want them to take? Where do you want them to follow you at? And then plug your website.
Sure. So obviously, I'm an email marketer. I want you to get that out there and email. Like I said earlier, that one thing, dry your hands off, write this down. I want you to check out your welcome sequence and make sure that it's obvious that, you're investing your time in them, that you want them to be your friend, that you're kind of sort of training them, or conditioning is the word Genesis used, to know that email is a two-way street. It's not just you blasting things out. This is a channel where you really get to know your subscribers, turn them into friends, and then turn them into customers. If you don't know what that actually looks like, of course, I'm the email lady. I've got this already written for you. You can go to lizwilcox.com. In the top right-hand corner, there's a hot pink button. It says free email swipes. There's an entire welcome sequence already written. That email I was telling you about, the newsletter expectations, I've got all those written for you. I've got that one, especially. I want you to look at that one. If you do nothing else, that's the one that you need. That's going to flip the switch for your people from, hey, I got a freebie from this person, to this is a business, these are her offerings, this is what I'm interested in, right? So you can get that. You're also going to get 3 newsletter examples, so you can see how you can continue the conversation, how you can write a newsletter in 20 minutes or less. And then, because writing from scratch sucks and it's hard to come up with ideas every single week, on top of all that, I'm going to give you 52 subject lines, all for free. All that's for free. Genesis just went, whoa. And all that's for free at lizwilcox.com. You're never going to have to write anything from scratch when you're with me. So just go there, hit that hot pink button. You can't miss it. And I can't wait to see what you do with email marketing. Thank you so much for having me.
That is amazing, y'all. Go grab those freebies from Liz. All of her contact information will be in the show notes. And then, Liz, where do you primarily hang out on social media?
Yeah, so of course I'm the email fresh princess. So I want you to join my email list. You can swipe all that, any email I send you, please take it, use it as your own. But on social media, I'm most active on Instagram at the Liz Wilcox, THE Liz Wilcox. Or you can find me in my Facebook group. It is free. It's called the Email Sound Booth, ode to all those musical references, where we hang out and, just talk shop on email.
Woo! And there you have it, listeners and viewers of Gems Podcast. You just heard the fresh princess of email marketing, Liz Wilcox. Once again, all of her contact information will be in the show notes, so you can plug in and tap in with her. Make sure you share this segment and subscribe to the podcast. We are on 40 plus platforms. Also, for video content, connect with us over on YouTube, which is at Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And lastly, but not least, the mission here at Gems Podcast is to educate, inspire, and motivate while we bridge the gap for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We're currently looking for brand sponsors. Space is limited. So make sure you check out genesisamarisKemp.net. Hit that podcast tab to find out how you can become a sponsor or brand ambassador. You'll also find out that we are ranked in the top 3% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per www.listennotes.com. So until next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Go take those challenges from Liz and get your email on point so people can read them and not delete them.